Just outside the gates of Badlands National Park, the sun was coming up over rolling grasslands. We got in late the night before and found a wide open spot to camp. No signs, no other people, just wind and stars. By morning, the hills were glowing with that first light. It felt like we had the whole place to ourselves. Now we're packing up and heading into the Badlands. This is where the journey begins, but it's only getting started. The Badlands were shaped over millions of years, carved by wind, water, and time into sharp ridges and deep canyons. It's a place where ancient fossils lie beneath the surface, and bison still roam the grasslands alongside bighorn sheep and prairie dogs. People come here for the views, the history, the chance to see it all from a scenic overlook. And while it's beautiful, we're after something a little different, something more remote and far from the crowds. While most people explore the Badlands from the main loop road, we took a quieter route, south toward Sheep Mountain Table. This dirt road winds through open prairie before climbing steadily to a high plateau. It's not a road you want to drive after rain, and near the top you'll need four-wheel drive and good clearance to reach the overlook. Along the way, we spotted a bighorn sheep grazing just off the road, one of those moments that makes you stop and take it in. Bighorn sheep were reintroduced to Badlands National Park in the 1960s after being wiped out from the region. Today they're one of the park's iconic wildlife sightings, often spotted grazing along remote ridgelines and roads like this one. At the top, the view is something else. The land drops away into a canyon full of jagged spires, like a miniature Bryce Canyon, carved by years of wind and rain. Easily one of the most beautiful views in the park. Rosie led the way down the trail, taking in every scent. We followed slow and quiet, just soaking it all in. Eventually, we made our way back to the trucks, because what came next, that is why we really came here. Buffalo Gap National Grassland. Once you leave the pavement and gravel roads behind, the landscape stretches wide and wild. We dropped into a steep, washed-out road, carefully working our way down to a gate that opened to a prairie trail where cattle roam freely. From here, the trail gets gradually rougher, more remote, and less traveled. About a mile in, we hit our first real obstacle, an old cattle grate where the dirt on both sides had eroded away. It didn't look too bad at first, but as I eased the Forerunner forward, the front end suddenly dropped in, the wheels wedged perfectly on either side. Stuck. Thankfully, there was a solid fence post nearby, just enough to hook the winch. A quick pull and we were moving again. Nothing serious, but a good reminder that out here, even simple things can turn into a challenge. Jake followed in his modified Outback. It's got decent clearance, but I figured this one might be tough. Sure enough, he dropped in and got hung up. With some patience and a bit of spotting, we worked him through. The cattle grate felt like a gatekeeper, testing us before the trail really got serious. And from here on out, the terrain didn't let up. Buffalo Gap National Grassland is one of the largest stretches of public prairie in the country. Nearly 600,000 acres of open range, winding ravines, and rugged beauty. Long before fences or roads, this was Lakota land, home to massive bison herds and the people who followed them. Today it's still shared by ranchers, wildlife, and those looking to get off the grid. You can drive for miles out here without seeing a sign, a gate, or another soul. It's public land at its most wild, free, open, and untamed. We dropped into the Indian Creek section of the trail and immediately found ourselves in a rhythm. Up and down muddy banks, in and out of water crossings, winding deeper into the grasslands. The further we went, the more it felt like we were leaving the world behind. No cell signal, no markers, just tracks through the clay and the steady sound of running water. The Forest Service had made it clear, if you get stuck out here, you're on your own. And that thought stays with you. It's remote, unpredictable, and absolutely stunning. The trail cuts back and forth through Indian Creek again and again. What starts as dry dirt eventually gives way to sticky, heavy clay, probably packed that way from years of cattle drives and bison before them. Each crossing was its own little puzzle. Some were quick, others had us out walking at first, making sure we weren't about to sink axle deep in mud or drop into something too deep for Jake's Outback. My Forerunner handled it without issue, but I had to carefully spot Jake through a few tight spots where his clearance or lack of true four-wheel drive became a factor. We took it slow and worked through each challenge. And in between the problem solving and navigation, there was this quiet sense of peace. Just two rigs, moving through the grasslands, water running under our tires, and no one else in sight. It's hard to beat this kind of trail. Rugged, scenic, and just remote enough to keep things interesting. The sun was starting to get low, and we figured it was time to find a place to camp. After a full day of trail riding and water crossings, we were feeling good, confident and comfortable with whatever was ahead. We found a great spot under a few big cottonwood trees, right along the banks of Indian Creek. Quiet, shaded, and just what we were hoping for. I made one of my go-to camp meals, jambalaya, and we sat down to eat while the last bit of light faded behind the hills. It was one of those simple, perfect moments. Hard to ask for a better way to end a trip like this. Until next time, this is Destination Journey.